5Options show, where every week Marta and Anna abandon their 5 children, 2 partners, and 1 cat to make a show especially for you. An artist, a challenge, a bullshit, a wisdom, and a surprise. Tune in and feel the magic of 5.
Hello, everyone. It was almost like hell no, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Marta.
And this is Anna. Hell no.
This is
Hell
You've
no.
Got 5 Options show.
Hell no, everyone. Okay, this is, we haven't played that yet. So there is a first time for everything. Hell no, everyone. This is, Anna and Marta from You've Got 5 Options. Thank you, Marta, for this interesting and very unusual welcome. So welcome to the next episode. We are today live on air, so you can experience our mistakes, as they go. It's a live feed. And I think I will start with a couple of news. I think we should introduce a news corner. What do you think? For those of you who can see us on TV, that face was priceless. That was like, hell no. Exactly, that was a hell no. That was a hell no. Okay, I just have couple of announcements, and I will try to be fast, although that is not my strongest suit. So number 1, guys, we are soon kicking off with a new website. We had some pictures taken here in the studio 2 weeks ago, and wonderful Zane, how to pronounce her surname? Hartmann, because you write it Hartmanne. Zane Hartmanne, that rhymes. Zane made pictures and she delivered them, and they are great. So we are redesigning the website. So if you are listening to us right now and you will go to the5options.com, you will see nothing new. However, if you will listen to the podcast episode, which we are releasing on Tuesday, then you actually might experience some new shit.
Yes, and by we, Anna always means I. Meaning herself. I don't redesign websites. It's Anna.
Yet. Another announcement I wanted to give, because I think it's good to tell people that we actually are yet again this year doing some programs for TEDx Aarhus. I think we are now official partners, and we will be there in autumn 2020 doing our backstage shows, but we will also do a couple of programs in the meantime. And on the top of everything, we have also contacted TEDx Odense, and they are also interested in us covering their event, which happens spring this year. So guys, we are TEDx
Bitches.
I wanted to say horse, and then I was like, no, why would I say that? And then you said bitches. Hell no. Okay, yes. So guys, the thing is that the very first program we are planning to pull off is a merge between TEDx Aarhus and TEDx Odense. TEDx Aarhus doesn't really know it yet. So guys, now you know. We want to make a program, everything you wanted to know about TEDx, but you had no one to ask, and you can actually ask us. So if you will go to that new website next week, we will have a special place on the landing page, meaning the first page, when you will be able to send your own question that you would normally like to ask people from TEDx, and we will make sure that they will answer, because we have our ways, persuasive ways.
Yeah, we have done pretty well on getting people to talk to us on TEDx Aarhus 2019.
Exactly. So if you have any question about TEDx, for instance, how to become a speaker, or is TEDx making any money? I'm now giving you those questions, but probably you have your own questions. Then go to our website, the5options.com, 5 as a number, and just send us the question and we will ask them. And we will have actually organizers from 2 events. So that's like a, double power, like a Power Rangers. No, that's not Power Rangers. But, like from 2 organizers. I think that's cool. And the last but not least, today's episode will feel for our regular listeners a little bit like a déjà vu or déjà vu. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not French. Déjà vu or déjà vu, Marta?
I don't know. I say déjà vu and my husband says déjà vu.
Déjà vu.
Déjà vu, déjà vu. Déjà vu, déjà vu. Exactly. So we don't know, so we will just use both because we will repeat couple of topics and even a song that we played in our last show. And that is because I have a huge need to compensate to several people and to several topics. Number one, well, we have misinformed the band Al Brooks and the Rusty Crooks about the date where their song, What My Mama Said, will be on the radio. So the guys gathered their family and friends and they were all listening to the show, and that was the show where Gregory Boyd was on. So I don't know, I even had that kind of a weird vision when I read this email, because I got an email from Alexander. He was like, hey, what's up? What happened? Because, you know, it's like I told my family, friends, now we look kind of silly. So I would like to give my sincere apologies, because we had a last minute switch between the shows and I didn't manage to inform the band that they will be played week after. And I had this vision of the whole family and friends sitting in front of, I don't know for what reason, an old like a radio set, just like waiting for the song that never came. And because of that, we decided to compensate to the band and play them one more time live on air. So now for all of the friends and family and the band, we will actually replay the song, and we wish you all the best. We hope that the song will reach even more people and that soon you will become super famous. For those of you who haven't listened, I will just remind you that I actually got a different description of the band, because I had the description last week that the band sent me. This time I decided to, do it a little bit different. So I took the one from Facebook, and they are describing themselves as: we are a gang of drunken outlaws out to destroy some of the good old and new country classic with our rusty rebel sound, as well as create some old style new shit. I actually think this is a fantastic introduction. And guys, now we will have Artist of the Week. Once again, Al Brooks and the Rusty Crooks with What My Mama Said.
born to be free.
That was What My Mama Said by Al Brooks and the Rusty Crooks. And guys, if you are interested in finding the band, then of course go to the 5options.com to this episode show notes, and we have the links and you will know how to reach them. And one more time, greetings to the family and friends of the band. And sorry again that you waited last week for the song and it didn't come out. So now it's here one more time, and yeah. I like that song. I think it's cool. And I always like an image of a drunken guys reconstructing the music, so that's awesome. So now, guys, we will continue with the compensation, because apparently I have some problems with myself. Last week we have started a very interesting topic about overpopulation, which I personally found as the most interesting last 10 minutes of the previous show. And I also got a feedback from 2 people that they were really interested, but it's ended so abruptly. And that is because we obviously have zero discipline regarding keeping time. And that by we, I mean I have a zero discipline. So we will come back to overpopulation. And let's start with the wisdom then, because we will talk about some wise stuff.
A super wise wisdom of the week.
So on my endless journey of trying to prove the world that I can embarrass myself in 101 creative ways, I started last week's topic about overpopulation with something that was called demographic. And I actually couldn't really say what it was because I made 15 pages of notes, and yet I forgot to write down exactly what I meant. So first we will start with a little audio file and then I will explain what it was. There is a lot of news that in Japan there is a population crisis, and someone found an article that 13% of the houses in Japan are now abandoned because people are so much, diminishing in Japan. And is this true, and what can he say about it, because he lives in Japan? And he started to talk about demographic crunch. I think it's called like this. Oh, I have to check that. Demographic, I would say challenge, because there's one. Yeah, so first of all, I absolutely love my accent here. I used such a weird accent, demographic and stuff. But guys, now just
very country.
I don't know what was it. Country, you think? Demographic.
Yeah, it was like
abandoned. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. But guys, it is called demographic crunch. And the reason why you may not know it, or I couldn't remember it exactly, it's because we don't really talk about this as much as we talk about overpopulation. If you are trying to Google demographic crunch, you get very few results, yet you get results like reports from countries' policies as how to approach it. And when you get overpopulation, you get like a lot of opinions, blogs and stuff like this. So demographic crunch is when the demographic outlook of the country changes drastically in a way that there is actually a risk of underpopulation. And I gave Japan as an example. So now, guys, I will have a question for you, and you are fully entitled to refuse to answer. But there are 2 more countries that are struggling with huge demographic crunch at this moment, and I would like you to give me your best guess what those countries are. And I didn't know neither. I knew one, but I didn't know the other one. Is there any volunteer?
Well, I don't know what's the exact definition of the demographic crunch. If the population, the birth rate is
declining, and there is the prediction is that more people will be dying than being born. But it's the declining birth rate to the level that the population cannot stay on the same level.
That I think are quite some countries in Europe.
Actually, there are. But give me, Marta, your best guesses.
Well, I don't know why China comes to mind, even though there are like so many people there. Still, it kind of comes to mind.
Yeah.
I know that there is quite a big challenge in Poland, actually, when it comes to the outlook, and our government has some very interesting ways to manage that. But that was the two countries that came to my mind, but I haven't read anything about it recently, or so that's just something that came to my mind.
Dennis, what are your guesses?
Was it a couple of years ago when a Danish politician said that we were having too few children in Denmark, that people needed to make more babies? So is Denmark one of the countries where the demographics are now that too many people are old and not enough people are born?
That would be a one guess. And second guess?
China lifted their one-ban policy, so that might be one of them.
Guys, you were right with China. China is facing a huge demographic crunch. Population is aging more rapidly than it's getting rich. Wow. Because actually then you have to sponsor the older people, giving rise to a great demographic imbalance with important implications for the party's efforts to transform the Chinese economy and preserve its own power in the coming decade. So basically there is fewer people that will be able to work, and the other country is, and actually the countries that you gave, it's true, but the other country where it's really alarming levels is Russia.
It came to my mind, Poland and then Russia.
Yeah. And actually, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, I think 2 weeks came with a special announcement to the nation, what will be the measures of trying to encourage people to have more children. And in case of Russia, the men are dying too young, the women aren't having enough kids, the country has more immigrants than it knows what to do with, and it's running out of working age people to support everybody else. Plus, vodka. Estimate says that alcohol is tied to 30% of deaths in Russia. Wow. And that's from Reuters. So, countries are facing a demographic crunch. And I thought it's the Western civilizations only, but Russia was never really falling exactly in that box. And with China, it is, I believe, a direct consequence of a one-child policy, which is a topic for another show. So basically, guys, what do you think about this? We have a demographic crunch and yet overpopulation. This is not a question to put you in a corner. Just how is your feel about this?
Well, it kind of makes people who are very, very, very opposed to immigration look kind of stupid.
Well,
because we need immigrants if we're going to uphold the standard of living, and if we need jobs done, we need immigrants in the foreseeable future.
That is actually a very point that you have here highlighted, because that's true. The demographic crunch in Western civilization and in big countries like China and Russia are calling for immigrants to come. And then we have also, especially in Western world, in US right now and in Europe, we have this fear there is too many immigrants, when in reality many economies are calculating currently that in 10 years we will not have enough hands to basically work and sustain the economy. So that is a very interesting point, and I hope we will come back to it. But I would also like to serve you the second wisdom, which is also called a compensation for me not covering the topic properly on our previous show. And that is something about the demographic transition process, which I told you about. I told you about those 4 steps when countries are, let's say, struggling with population growth because there is a poor sanitation, there are diseases, poverty, and so on. And then there is a step 2, and suddenly there is a drastic improve in human conditions and more children are surviving. So suddenly, you made those 6 children because you thought that 4 of them will die, and now they are all alive. So you have step 3, explosion. But after the explosion, there is a step 4, there is a slowdown, because now people see, okay, we don't need to make so many babies. And then I was asking you if this is actually sensible, and let's hear that bit and see what you said. Once you introduce technology and medicine and all these things, people will automatically start to have less children. Does it start to have less children? Does it have any sense?
To me, it sounds quite sensible.
I think I've heard, I don't know if it's true, that the more empowered and educated women are, the less children are produced.
That is absolutely correct. And that comes with the progress, right? With the education and things like that.
It does, but it also comes with culture.
That is also true.
Very, very technological advanced countries still have a completely different societal structure where women are not empowered and most women still go at home. And they still have a lot of children because they're not empowered.
That is also true, although I don't have enough data. But I
can't say for sure either. It's just what I remember hearing.
One guy. So, Denise, yes, you remembered well, actually, I have to tell you, because I was trying to research this topic, to see if there is any correlation between the culture as well. And it's maybe not so much the culture, but actually the situation of women and the way that the culture perceives them, or what are the social trends. And here I based this little research of mine. I based it on Hans Rosling. I don't know if you know the guy. He was a Swedish physicist and a statistician, and he was very famous for educating the world with data, the actual data. He was saying that many of the data we don't understand and we have outdated look at the world. He actually wrote the book Factfulness, where he's talking about how data can scare us or give us an impression that the world is way worse than it is. I have that book home, haven't read it yet. And he had a series of TED Talks, by the way, TED Talks, where he was presenting different data about overpopulation and explaining why we have so many people that we have and what can we do about decreasing the overpopulation. And actually, he had one very good speech. It was called does religion influence how many children are born per woman, or something like this? I'm paraphrasing right now. And he came up with 4 things that are contributing to lowering the childbirth. Number 1 is lower mortality rates of children. So more children surviving. Naturally, we should kind of, stop giving birth to more and more. Decreasing poverty is the next factor for decreasing overpopulation. Basic family planning, and here we also call anti-conception. And he said that number 4 is probably the most important factor, and that is education and emancipation of women. So Dennis, you were actually right. He also gave, and yes, exactly, bravo, woohoo! Dennis was right, but Dennis is usually always right, and he knows everything up front, which only makes me think that he has some telepathic wizard powers, but I will leave it for another show. But guys, the interesting thing that he has shown was the graph comparison between Qatar and Bangladesh. So basically he showed the data from 1960, and he has shown that in both Qatar and Bangladesh there were around 6 to 7 children born per woman, even if Qatar had averagely $100,000 annual income per person and Bangladesh only 10,000. So the poverty argument seems invalid, right? But it cannot work in a vacuum. Then he showed data from 2010, and both of the countries dropped with babies to 2 per woman averagely. And both in Bangladesh and Qatar, the income grew a little bit, but in Bangladesh, it didn't grow to 100,000. It was just a relative improvement. But what he said, what was interesting about the Qatar, were the social trends. When more and more women got emancipated, were entering the workforce, and had more rights. So that automatically helped to decrease the birth rate. So now, in 2010, Qatar women had averagely 2 children. So, Dennis, hats off. you were right. What are your thoughts about this? It makes sense, right?
It does.
Because if I'm thinking about myself now, having all the, I would say, chances I have in this society, being able to take upon hobbies, education, do stuff, I don't really want to have 5 children. But maybe if I would be living 100 years ago, when I could only sit home and basically, not have job or voting rights or anything, maybe I would. Marta, what do you think about that?
Well, I can see now kind of like several different trends happening at the same time, because I think it's a very important part of exact natural demographic phenomenon, if we can call it this way, that as women are more emancipated, then they can step into another path of their life than only motherhood, which previously was the main career path, let's call it this way. But because I think being a mother is like the most challenging thing in the world. So that's why I call it this way. But what I can see now in my environment, now another trend is starting to happen where women are starting to be fed up with having to have that career and so much pressure on them, and are starting to say like, why am I sending my children to all the institutions where strangers are taking care of my children, so that I go and stress myself out at work, only see my children 2-3 hours per day, and lose the motherhood totally. So as everything in the world, we cannot totally generalize, because there are many different things happening at the same time, and all of them are true because all of them are happening, right? So I know so many empowered women who are so empowered that they can now say that I actually don't want to kill myself over a career. I want to have a few years off to be able to raise my children. But it's coming from the place of empowerment. It's coming from the place of a choice and of, okay, now I have all the options. I can study, I can work, I can have someone who can help me with children. And it is my conscious choice that I want to be there with my children when they are small, and I want to pick up the career again when the kids are a little bit bigger. So I know moms who have 5 children again, educated, and moms who can have different career options for themselves, who actually really feel fulfilled. We're having, let's say, this average of 2 children that is more or less supporting, the 2 parents. So having more than that, I'm starting to see it more and more again, but coming from the place of empowerment.
Yeah, I think that this is yes, Dennis?
And privilege.
And
it comes from a place of empowerment and
True,
privilege,
true.
because that is something that it's not bestowed on everybody to do.
Yeah,
You save farewell to your income, so you have to have a partner with a sizable income to do that. So it is empowerment and it is privilege.
Well, it depends how you look at it, because you still have all those countries where women have much less income than, if you want to keep up the same standard of living, then it's a matter of privilege. But if you are willing to have much less money and, lower down your standard of living, then it's not necessarily that kind of a privilege, since at the same time we see many families that have 5 children in countries that are not as privileged, so to speak. So it could be from a place of privilege. It could be from a place of it's actually more important for me to be there for my children, and I'm willing to have a much lower income than I could have if we were both earning.